Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon you. It's your sister Aisha Abdul Rahman. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my trip to Ghana and what I did the last couple of weeks that I was there while I stayed in Elmina, kind of close to Cape Coast. So today's video is sponsored by Booking.com. And yeah, let's just get straight into the video. This video is sponsored by Booking.com. While staying in Elmina, Ghana, I stayed at Lemon Beach Resort, which I booked with Booking.com. So in today's video, I'm just going to talk about the things that I did while staying in Elmina, what I was doing there, and what the experience was like. I'm looking at my phone. So if you follow me on Instagram, I have a guide that's called Aquaba, which means welcome entry, and it basically has a list of the things that I did in the places that I stayed in Ghana. So I'm kind of using my phone for notes. So I was in Elmina for about 2.5 weeks, so it's kind of close, maybe 5 to 10 minutes near Cape Coast, which is the city center of that region. So that's the central region. So in Ghana they have different regions, kind of like we have states here in the US. When I first was in Ghana, I stayed in Accra. It's very city, very hustle and bustle, where in Elmina, it's a lot more laid back. Cape Coast, it's kind of laid back, not as much as Accra, but it's still kind of busy. But Elmina, there's a lot more villages there. You can walk a lot more there. There's not as many people. The population's not as big. It's a fishing town. There's fishing villages.
It's a taboo to fish on Tuesdays here. So the fishermen have chosen that day to be a resting day and also a day for them to amend or repair their fishing net or even the canoes. So it's Tuesdays is a resting day for the fishermen, and also the market wouldn't be busy. There might be 1, 2, 3 people here selling, but it wouldn't be busy as you've seen today. So the place is busy as always, but except Tuesdays and Sundays, you know, Ghanaians, the Christians dominate more. So Sundays people would like to go to the church and then probably come back to sell. Yeah, but even the number will come back to sell wouldn't be huge as this we've seen today. Okay. So this is it's a bit busy, but not busy because of the rain as well. Because we kind of like hate the rain, because when it rains heavily here, our places get flooded, just like you've seen here. Yeah. So then you have to like jump over, you know. But yeah, the place is busy every day except Tuesdays and also Sundays, where people like chose to go to church or come here to sell.
I was staying at Lemon Beach. I was actually staying right there on the ocean front. So it's very nice. I will also put a link to Lemon Beach Resort down below. Beautiful community. I feel like a family being there. And actually once I got to Elmina, I felt more like I was less so visiting and traveling, and more so it was more like living in Ghana. So we went shopping, shopped with local people, got to practice my bartering, which is horrible. And then my guide who took me out, his grandmother actually taught me how to make green. I'm not even gonna pronounce the proper traditional name, but they call it like a green or a green soup. Oh, it's so good. It's kind of like gumbo. Really, really good. I'm gonna have to learn how to make it. Or I'm not learn, she taught us how to make it, but I'm gonna have to try to make it for myself, because I felt like I was watching more so. The best soup ever. So that's where I stayed. So when I was in Elmina, part of the reason for my trip was, as an art curator, I'm there to do research and find out about local artists, but I also am there to learn about the culture and learn about the history, because of some of the things I want to write about and share on my blog. As I learn about my own ancestry, just West Africa in general is something that I'm doing research on and want to learn about. So of course I went to the slave dungeons, what they call castles. I'm like, they're dungeons, they're slave dungeons. So I went to the Cape Coast slave dungeon when I was there. They take you through the dungeons, they give you a tour. There's a gift shop there. There's, you know, the last door, you can do a reef laying, you can do pour libations. And then there's also kind of like artwork that's there, or like souvenirs and bags and things that you can take with you when you go. So at Cape Coast, I've done my research on Ghana, and I've done research on Cape Coast Castle. Cape Coast Castle and Elmina are very, very popular. When I was there, people asked me, they were asking me on Instagram, like, what did it feel like? How did you feel? For some reason at Cape Coast, for me, it was very educational. I was just like, wow, you know, I was in awe kind of, but I don't feel like it like really hit me until I got to Elmina Castle, and it felt more personal. So at Elmina Castle, and I don't know if it's just because of now knowing my ancestry tribe, so I talked about that in a previous video about my African ancestry results, knowing kind of the history and knowing the tribe and knowing that lineage and kind of knowing that background. For some reason, I feel like my family, my ancestors were actually held possibly in Elmina. And I'm thinking that maybe that's why that felt more personal, why it was a lot more emotional when I was there. I talked about this a little bit on Instagram. As I was leaving, I felt like someone was watching me leave, like I was leaving someone there. Like there was a really like metaphysical connection there. It just felt like the presence of people were still there. So it was very emotional with Elmina. I'm not sure why. My husband felt the same way, but for some reason with Cape Coast, it just felt different. It felt like, oh, wow. You know, it was very educational, but it didn't feel personal. So I don't know what that was all about. When I left Elmina, of course, they have a bookstore, and you know me, of course, I bought books. So I bought A History of Ghana, Revised and Updated. I've already finished this book, but it's a book that I would read several different times. What I have learned also, I had like 2 or 3 guides when I was there in Elmina. So one of my guides, his name is Kwame. He, I think that means he was born on a Friday, born on a Thursday, born on a Friday. I think Kwame means born on a Friday. So Kwame knew his stuff when it came to Elmina. So he specializes, and I actually have his link on my Instagram of the things that I did and the places I went. I have his link in my list of things I did in Ghana. So Kwame knows a lot about Elmina. He knows a lot about the history. So I learned a lot about the Dutch and their time that they spent there. So he really taught me a lot while I was there. So I think depending on why you're there, if you're there, you know, to learn the history, if you're there to learn the heritage, you want to have somebody who knows that information, or either you want to do your own research and find out that information. So having Kwame was very helpful. And then I also bought these books. So Elmina, the Castles and the Slave Trade. I've read this. Of course, I've got my notes and my highlights. These are books that I feel like you will read and then you will reread again. I also purchased A History of Indigenous Slavery in Ghana from the 15th to the 19th century. I've read a little bit of this book. Of course, we know that before colonization, there was a type of slavery in Africa. It wasn't the same type as the transatlantic slave trade. So this book kind of touches on that. It talks about slavery before, comparing it to the transatlantic slave trade. While I was at the W.E.B. Du Bois Center in Accra, I also got the Diaspora African Forum book. And what this does, it's pretty good. It's a travel guide. It shows you different places and different things that you can do while you are in Ghana. So I grabbed that. And then lastly, I also bought Amma, A History of the Transatlantic Slave Trade. This is based on a true story. I haven't started reading it yet. It's still Black History Month, and I wanted to really just focus on our wins. One thing that kind of frustrates me is that people tend to focus on slavery a lot during Black history, and I'm like, okay, that's a small part of our history, but I wanted to have a more positive and focus on our wins this month and not look at just struggle. That's not all that our history is. So I kind of put those books to the side and left them for now. So I will start reading them, you know, later on this month. So I of course did the slave dungeons. I also went to the Kakum National Park and did the like the bridge walkover. So you can do the shortcut or you can do the long way. I did the shortcut. I had on sandals when I did this walk. Not a good idea. Make sure you wear your boots when you're walking. And it's a lot of uphill walking before you get to the bridge. So you want to make sure that you've got water when you go. And I'm out of shape. So there's that. There's also so Global Mamas. Global Mamas is a nonprofit organization that I've been in contact with probably for about a year now. And I was telling them, hey, I'm coming to Ghana. I'm coming to Ghana. So I've been in contact with them before my trip. So once I got there, I got to take a batik workshop and got to make my own fabric while I was there. So they were actually walking distance from where I was staying in Elmina. And it's very, very funny is I kept missing the messages. We kept missing emails before I got there. And I was just like, okay, I'm just not going to be able to do my Global Mamas workshop. But so my guide was like, hey, we have this textile workshop. Are you interested? Do you want to take that? I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's something that I wanted to do, but I just haven't been able to connect with the person. So come to find out, the lady who actually did my textile workshop through my guide also works for Global Mamas. So it actually worked out really, really good. So if that's something that you want to do, Global Mamas has a local cooking. They have a beading workshop. They have a textile workshop. So that's really something that's fun that you can do. They have a shop in Accra, and then they also have one there in Elmina. So depending on where you're at, you can reach out to Global Mamas and schedule it. So I will put a link below to Global Mamas and to my guides and to my link for booking.com. And then of course, like I said, if you follow me on Instagram, if you go to guides, it's called Aquaba Visit Ghana, and there are basically the different places that I stayed and the different things that I did while I was in Elmina. So the other thing that we did is we spent the day in Takoradi. So I went to Takoradi is about maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours max drive from Elmina, and I went to Takoradi because I had to get my COVID test to get on the plane to come back. So you have to have a COVID test to get on the plane to get there, and then when you get to Accra, you have to take another COVID test when you get off the plane. But then when you're leaving Ghana to go back to the US, you have to take another COVID test within 72 hours of getting on your plane. And Takoradi, so they didn't have a place for me to do it in Elmina or Cape Coast. So Takoradi had it and Accra had it. Accra is like a 4-hour drive from Elmina versus Takoradi. So we went to Takoradi for the day, hung out there. So I got to see what it's like there. It's a very industrial area, industrial town. It's even some military there. The weather in Takoradi felt a little bit cooler than that in Elmina. I don't know if it was just that day that I was there. We hung out at the mall there for a few hours. So it was a pretty fun trip. It was a very brief trip, but I got to see, you know, what things are like. So I felt like Takoradi is a little bit more developed than Elmina. It's not, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's as developed as Accra. It's just not as bustling. It's not as busy. I would say it's a different type of business. It's a different type of vibe. So when you go to Ghana, each region has its own kind of feeling or vibe. Kind of like different states in the United States have a different vibe. So me and my husband did a video where we're talking about comparing the places that we visited in Ghana to the places that we know here in the US. So I will have that video come up for you guys next. Life is good. Have a blessed day.